So you want to learn about investing, and I'll tell you all about it. In the world of investing, we should know what we should invest in and what we shouldn't invest in, as well as how much money we have. And let's start with what you shouldn't buy. Well, first of all, while you could invest in a nice and comfortable bed, it's not really necessary. Sure, it might get you some better sleep, but it doesn't really help you make more money, at least not directly. As well as having interesting neighbors.
Or you can also consider buying earplugs.
But again, it's not really necessary. What it does is that it increases the level of your comfort. And what does that mean? It means that as you buy something, that will be your new standard.
This is not a great investment because it raises the bar on how you live. For example, I used to wear normal tennis shoes, just normal ones, very cheap, $10, grab it off the market, just walk out with it. I'm just kidding, I don't actually walk out with it, but regardless, so I got trainers that costed roughly $80. And after wearing trainers every day, when I went back to wearing normal tennis shoes, my feet was hurting from normal tennis shoes.
So let's now go take a look about the things that we could invest in. And now we can talk about what to actually invest in. So let's first cover the basics of investing. Before you start investing, you should have everything sorted already. Your food, your water, your bills, having a place to live should probably be your priority, and as well as paying your debts. Of course, in investing, you would want to make more money to pay your debt, but you can't really invest with debt, because if you failed in investing, you would just have more debt. Because as you probably know, being in debt is bad. And now that's also covered. If you do have those money on hand, putting it under your bed would actually decrease in value because of inflation. The inflation rate currently is about 3.2%, so you can even this out by putting money in the bank. So you don't actually get money from putting money in the bank, it just adjusts to inflation, as long as bank interests are above the inflation rate, which some of them are actually not, unfortunately. So you still might be losing money, just a bit less. So in investing, it's actually better because the money will actually grow instead of staying the same or loses value. And we also need to know how much money you have. Let's say if you're rich, you can just buy a house. The house will increase in value over time, usually, and you can just rent it out to other people and get rent money. And you'll actually get the money back after a few years. Well, I wouldn't say a few years, like 10, 20 years maybe. You're like, wait, isn't this a video for college students? How can a college student possibly afford a house? Exactly. So if you're broke like me, then we wouldn't even consider buying a house. Instead, we would consider buying stocks. Well, what is stocks? When a company starts, it usually requires funds. And how they get these funds is through rich people. So rich people would give parts of their money to the company to invest in it. And those are the stocks, equity, shares that we know today. And those stocks can be traded directly to you. So you can own a part of a company. A very, very tiny part of it. For example, an Apple stock is around $190. And there's around 15 billion of Apple stock. And we can use this to estimate what the company is worth, which is about 3 trillion. To trade these stocks, you can use apps such as Robinhood, Vanguard, Public.com. You can use all these platforms to just trade stocks. And what those apps does is they serve as the middleman for the rich people and you, so you can buy the stocks directly from rich people. You're trading stocks. But how do you actually make money from trading stocks? Well, it's pretty simple actually. You would buy the stock. For example, again, you bought Apple stocks at $100 and you sold it when it was $190. You just made $90. So it's actually really simple on how you could potentially buy and sell the stock to gain money. And another way to make money from stocks is by buying dividend stocks. Because dividend stocks pays out dividends, which is basically just money that companies give out to you, the owner of the share of a company, a percentage of the stock that you own. So for example, if you own $100 worth of a stock of a company that pays dividends, you will usually gain around $3 or $5 back, around 3 to 5%. And how often also depends on the company. It could be every month, it could be every 2 months, it could be really anything. But usually it's around quarterly, yearly, or semi-yearly. I don't know why I said it like that. That's just how it is. And what I just said only applies to really single share stocks, meaning it has to be a specific share of a company. Let's say Apple, Tesla, whatever big company, you name it, Amazon, they all have singular share stocks. Well, as Warren Buffett has once said, the famous business person, if you don't know the market, you can't beat the market. No one can beat the market, which just means that buying single stocks is really risky, because even if you do a lot of research, you think a company is going to make more money, whatever happens, let's say Apple recently is going to have the Apple Vision Pro, that could mean that the stock value would go up. But it also could go down because they delayed production, the production got cut, people were striking, or anything could happen really. And the stock's price would actually go down instead. So you could never know what happens for single share stocks. So what Warren Buffett would advise is to instead just buy index funds. And what is index funds, you might ask? It's just a bunch of these individual stocks added together. So instead of owning one Tesla stock, one Amazon stock, whatever, you just own a bunch of these stocks together. So when the price fluctuates, it would almost guarantee that wouldn't be bad, because if a company is doing well and a company is doing bad, there's no win or lose. So this is to make sure that you divide and conquer. You wouldn't just win in one, but you can minimize the losses this way. And how can you buy index funds? Again, using the apps mentioned above and just online in general, there's a lot of ways to buy index funds. And the most famous index fund is the S&P 500, which is a collection of stocks from the top 500 companies. And that also doesn't mean that you'll have one stock from every single 500 company, because how good a company does also influence the amount of stock that is in there. So for example, Apple stock actually has more power over, well, let's say some motor vehicle, some car vehicle stocks. They would just have more percentage because they're a bigger company. So what is the benefits of an index fund? You said the prices goes up and down, so does it just stay the same? Well, actually, every year, the index fund, such as the S&P 500, generally has higher growth. So every year, the S&P 500 has made roughly 7% gains, which is crazy. It's basically double the inflation. So while if you put money compared to under your bed, which is losing money every year, you will actually gain 3% every year if you put your money in investing into the S&P 500. And the earlier you start, the better it is. Because Warren Buffett also said, I want on two things, whatever the fuck and compound interest. Because compound interest over time, let's say you buy the S&P 500 using $100, in the first year you'll make $107, but next year you'll make more than $7, and it will compound every single year. So that's how compound interest works, and how much more money you would have instead of putting it under your bed and putting it in the S&P 500. And in terms of investing, you can also invest in arts, trading cards, and watches, but if you don't have expertise in it, it's generally not a good idea. Same thing with crypto. Actually, it's a very different thing with crypto. It's basically gambling. So you can invest in either the S&P 500, which gives you around 7% back every year, or you can try to go big or go broke in individual stocks, because no one can really predict it, but you could make a lot of money. And for the individual stocks, you can also go online. There's a platform for you to have an imaginary $100,000 for you to play with, to see how horrendous it would be for you to invest in individual stocks. And also Michael Rees made a video on investing in stocks of how his goldfish actually made more money than Wall Street bets.
Hi, I want to give my goldfish Frederick the ability to trade stocks. The fish won!
Let's go back!
Let's fucking go, Frederick! Fuck you, Wall Street bets!
So you can really never know what the market is up to. And the goldfish probably invests better than I do. But what if if you don't want to invest in stocks. So the best thing that you can actually invest in is yourself. So what do I mean by that is that you invest in your own knowledge, your own skill by buying books and by buying online courses, not the money-making scammy kind, just actual courses that make you learn knowledge. And you don't have to buy them because there's a lot of free information out there, either from YouTube, from Google. You can just learn for free. And that's the best way in investing, is that you take time to learn these things to invest in your own skills so that you can use those skills in the future to make more money. Because what you're investing here is actually time instead of money. Because you can buy however expensive books, however expensive courses, it's not going to matter if you don't put in the time and effort to learn that knowledge and learn that skill. And use those skills to promote yourself, to make yourself better, more interesting, and better for work. Because what employers look at is actually your skill set, what you can do to actually help the company be better. So invest in yourself. And what I just did, that long sequence, is to show you how much work and effort it requires and how much time it takes for you to actually learn. Because it's not an easy process. You have to put in the work. It's the best type of investment out there. It's the best thing you can do. I'm telling you that, and I just want you to do it. Okay, bye.